There is a fundamental paradox at the heart of a truly tranquil life, a riddle that most of us spend our entire lives trying to solve without ever realizing its nature. We are told to be optimistic, to think positive, to trust that everything will work out for us. We are sold a vision of life as a benevolent force that will conspire to give us what we want, as long as our attitude is right. Yet, our experience screams the opposite. Life is chaotic, unpredictable, and often cruel. It brings loss, failure, illness, and betrayal. To trust in a life that so often delivers pain feels like an act of profound naivete, a willful blindness to reality. This is where the ancient philosophy of Stoicism enters the conversation, not to dismiss the idea of trust, but to forge it in the fires of reality. The Stoics were not optimists in the modern sense. They were realists of the highest order. They did not pretend that hardship was an illusion. They stared directly into the abyss of human suffering, and instead of recoiling, they found a way to build an unshakable trust within it. The trust they cultivated was not in the idea that life would give them what they want, but in the profound truth that life will always give them what they need to become stronger, wiser, and more virtuous. To act as if everything always works out for you from a Stoic perspective is not to deny the existence of problems. It is to radically redefine what working out means. It is to trust that every event, without exception, is a raw material for your own moral and spiritual development. This is not a gentle path. It requires a complete reorientation of your mind, a shift from being a victim of circumstance to a student of the universe. Here are 7 brutal and beautiful Stoic truths that will allow you to build this unshakable trust, to look at the chaos of the world and know, with every fiber of your being, that everything is in fact working out perfectly for the cultivation of your soul. The first truth, the bedrock upon which all others are built, is this: the only true good is your own character. Everything else is indifferent. This is the most radical and liberating idea in all of Stoic philosophy, and it is the key to trusting life. We spend our lives in a state of frantic anxiety because we have misidentified what is good. We believe that good is health, wealth, pleasure, reputation, and success. We believe that bad is sickness, poverty, pain, criticism, and failure. With this value system, life becomes a terrifying lottery. We are constantly at the mercy of forces outside our control, hoping to win the good and avoid the bad. Our peace is fragile, entirely dependent on the whims of fortune. The Stoics called this out as the primary source of human misery. They argued that these externals are not good or bad in themselves, they are indifferents. A virtuous person can be poor and sick, and a vicious person can be rich and healthy. The external circumstances do not define the quality of the life. The only thing that is intrinsically, undeniably good is a virtuous character. The only thing that is intrinsically bad is a flawed character. Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, these are the sole components of a good life. Once you truly internalize this truth, your relationship with life is transformed forever. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you start asking, "What does this demand of me?" A setback at work is no longer a bad thing. It is an indifferent event that provides an opportunity to practice courage, resilience, and humility. A painful illness is not a curse. It is an indifferent event that offers a chance to practice patience and fortitude. The betrayal of a friend is not a tragedy. It is an indifferent event that calls upon you to practice forgiveness and self-reliance. When your goal is not to accumulate pleasant externals but to build an invincible character, then every single event in life becomes a tool for your progress. The difficult ones are often the best tools, for they test you and forge you in a way that ease never can. Therefore, you can act as if everything is working out for you, because it is. Every moment, pleasant or painful, is serving your ultimate purpose, to become a better human being. You are no longer gambling with your happiness. You are on a guaranteed path of self-improvement, and life itself is your willing and indispensable teacher. The second truth flows directly from the first, and is perhaps the most powerful expression of trust in life: love your fate. Amor Fati. This is the formula for greatness, the ultimate affirmation of existence. To love your fate is to not merely accept what happens, but to embrace it with a joyful and willful love. It is to look at every single event in your life, without exception, and say, "This is what was necessary, this is good." This sounds impossible, even offensive, when we consider the great tragedies of life. How can we love loss, or pain, or injustice? The key is to understand that you are not loving the pain of the event itself, but you are loving its place in the grand narrative of your becoming. You are loving the fact that this event, no matter how terrible, is the very thing that is shaping you into the person you are meant to be. Imagine a sculptor working with a block of marble. To create a masterpiece, the sculptor must strike the stone with a hammer and chisel. He must break away large chunks and smooth rough surfaces. From the perspective of the block of marble, each blow is a violent, destructive act. But from the perspective of the sculptor, each blow is a necessary creative act that is revealing the statue within. You are both the sculptor and the marble. The events of your life are the hammer blows. To resist them, to curse them, to wish they had not happened, is to be a block of marble that resists the sculptor's hand. To love your fate is to be the marble that trusts the process. To understand that every blow, no matter how painful, is chipping away at the rough edges, revealing the stronger, more beautiful, more virtuous self within. This is how you can trust life completely. You trust that you are being sculpted. When you are faced with a challenge, you do not see it as a random act of cruelty from the universe. You see it as the sculptor's next move. You can meet it not with resistance, but with a grim and joyful anticipation. You can say, "Bring it on. I am ready to be shaped by this. I will love this thing, because it is making me." This is not passive resignation. It is the most active and powerful stance you can possibly take. It is the declaration that nothing can harm you, because you have the power to transform every single thing that happens into fuel for your growth. The third truth is the practical, moment-to-moment application of this trust, and it is the most famous Stoic principle of all. Focus only on what is in your control and accept the rest with absolute indifference. The dichotomy of control is the master key to mental freedom. Worry and anxiety are the children of a misplaced focus. We worry because we are trying to control things that are fundamentally uncontrollable. We worry about the future, about the opinions of others, about the economy, about our health. We exhaust our mental and emotional energy fighting battles that can never be won. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, laid this out with uncompromising clarity. He said that some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. What is up to us is our own mind, our own judgments, our own desires, our own aversions, and our own actions. What is not up to us is everything else. To trust life is to make this distinction your sacred duty, your constant practice. Every time you feel the flicker of anxiety, you must stop and ask yourself, is this thing I am worrying about within my control? If the answer is no, your only rational and peaceful response is to let it go. This is not an act of weakness, but of supreme strength. It is the recognition that your power lies not in changing the world, but in changing yourself. You cannot control the weather, but you can control your response to it. You cannot control another person's actions, but you can control your own character. You cannot control the outcome of your efforts, but you can control the integrity and excellence of the effort itself. By focusing exclusively on your own domain, you guarantee your own success. You can always succeed in acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are things no one can take from you. This is how you can act as if everything is working out. Because in the only arena that truly matters, the arena of your own soul, you are always winning. You are no longer a fragile leaf tossed about by the winds of fortune. You are a steady, rooted tree, bending with the wind but never breaking, because your strength comes from within, from the one thing you can always command. Yourself. The fourth truth requires you to zoom out, to transcend your limited, egocentric perspective and see your life as part of a much larger, intelligent whole. This is the Stoic principle of living according to nature, or trusting the rational order of the universe. The Stoics believed that the universe is not a random, chaotic collection of atoms, but a coherent, rational and providential system, which they called the Logos. To trust life is to trust this larger system. It is to understand that you are not a separate entity fighting against the world, but an integral part of the world, a cell in the body of the cosmos. From your limited perspective, a single event can seem like a meaningless tragedy. A flood destroys your home, a company lays you off, a relationship ends in heartbreak. It feels like a personal attack from a hostile universe. But from the perspective of the whole, these events are not meaningless. They are part of a vast, interconnected chain of cause and effect that is too complex for your individual mind to comprehend. Think of it like a single dissonant note in a vast, beautiful symphony. If you focus only on that one note, it sounds like a mistake. But if you step back and hear the entire piece, you realize that note was essential for the overall beauty and emotional impact of the music. Your life is that symphony. Trusting life means trusting the composer. It means having faith that even the most painful, dissonant notes in your personal story have a necessary place in the grand composition of the universe. This does not mean you become passive. It means you play your part with excellence, knowing that your part, no matter how small or difficult, contributes to the whole. You stop asking, "Why me?" and you start asking, "What is my role in this?" You trust that the universe is not malevolent but rational. You trust that the challenges you face are not punishments but lessons. You trust that by aligning your own will with the larger will of nature, by acting with reason and virtue, you are in harmony with the fundamental force of the universe. And in that harmony, you find a peace that is profound and unshakable. The fifth truth is the most counterintuitive practice for building trust, yet it is perhaps the most effective. It is the practice of premeditating adversity, or Premeditatio Malorum. How can you trust life by constantly thinking about the worst that can happen? Because trust built on naivete is fragile and will shatter at the first sign of trouble. Trust built on realistic preparation is resilient and will hold firm in any storm. The modern world encourages us to avoid negative thoughts, to maintain a positive vibe at all costs. The Stoics saw this as a dangerous weakness. They argued that to be truly prepared for life, you must not only expect hardship, you must actively rehearse it in your mind. Seneca advised that we set aside days to live as if we had already lost everything we hold dear. Marcus Aurelius would contemplate the loss of his loved ones, his health, and his reputation. This is not an exercise in pessimism, it is a strategic mental drill. It is the psychological equivalent of a fire drill in a skyscraper. By imagining the worst, you strip it of its power to surprise and terrify you. If you have already considered what you would do if you lost your job, then when it happens, you are not a victim of circumstance, you are a prepared strategist. You can immediately shift from panic to action. This practice builds a profound sense of trust in your own ability to handle whatever life throws at you. It proves to you that you are tougher than your circumstances. Furthermore, by contemplating the loss of what you have, you cultivate a deep and powerful gratitude for what you possess in the present moment. The awareness that your home could be destroyed by fire makes you appreciate its warmth and shelter more deeply today. The thought that a loved one could be gone tomorrow makes the conversation you have with them now infinitely more precious. This practice does not make you morbid, it makes you more alive. It aligns you with the reality of existence, which is inherently fragile and impermanent. By embracing this reality, you stop living in a fantasy world where everything should be perfect and start living in the real world, where you are prepared for anything. And that is the foundation of a genuine, unshakable trust. The sixth truth is the ultimate antidote to the two greatest thieves of our peace, regret for the past and fear for the future. This truth is the practice of Memento Mori, to remember that you will die. This is often seen as a dark and depressing thought, but the Stoics saw it as the most liberating and life-affirming truth of all. To trust life completely, you must understand the finite nature of your own. The awareness of death is the ultimate filter for triviality. It instantly cuts through the noise of overthinking and forces you to focus on what is truly important. When you truly internalize the fact that this moment could be your last, your priorities snap into focus with brutal clarity. Does it really matter that someone cut you off in traffic? Is it worth spending hours in a state of anxiety over a minor work issue? Should you postpone that difficult but necessary conversation with a loved one? The answer to all these questions becomes a resounding no. The awareness of death frees you from the tyranny of the trivial. It gives you the courage to say no to the things that do not matter and a fierce desire to say yes to the things that do. It cures procrastination because you realize that someday is not a day of the week. The only time you have to act, to love, to be virtuous is right now. Trusting life means trusting the present moment. It means understanding that the past is unchangeable and the future is unknowable, so the only reality is the now. By keeping your mortality at the forefront of your mind, you are constantly pulled back into the present. You stop worrying about a future that may never come and stop regretting a past that is already gone. You are here, you are alive, and this moment is the only place where life is actually happening. This is not a practice that makes you sad. It makes you urgent. It makes you grateful. It makes you profound. It is the key to living a life that is full, authentic, and free from the endless, pointless chatter of a mind that is lost in time. The seventh and final truth is the culmination of all the others. It is the creation of your inner citadel, the unassailable fortress of your own soul. After you have redefined what is good, learned to love your fate, mastered your own mind, seen your place in the whole, prepared for the worst and anchored yourself in the present, you will have built something indestructible within you. This inner citadel is a state of being where your peace and happiness are no longer dependent on anything outside of you. It is a place that cannot be touched by loss, by criticism, by pain, or by chaos. It is the home of your true self, the self that is defined not by your circumstances but by your character. From within this fortress you can look out at the world and all its storms with a sense of profound trust and calm. You can watch the waves crash against the rocks knowing that they cannot breach your walls. This is the ultimate state of a Stoic sage. It is not a state of feeling no emotion, but of not being ruled by emotion. It is a state of radical self-sufficiency. You trust life completely because you no longer need it to be a certain way in order for you to be at peace. You have your peace within you, always. You trust that life will bring challenges, and you welcome them because you know they cannot harm your essential self. They can only test the walls of your citadel and, in doing so, make them stronger. You trust that life will bring joys, and you can enjoy them fully but without attachment, knowing that they are temporary visitors to your inner home, not its foundation. This inner citadel is not built in a day. It is constructed brick by brick, with every act of wisdom, every display of courage, every choice to act with justice, and every moment of self-control. It is the reward for the disciplined practice of the other 6 truths, and once it is built, you are truly free. You are free from the fear of life because you know that nothing can break you. You can finally act as if everything always works out for you because you have created a world within yourself where that is, and always will be, true. You have trusted the process of life, and in doing so you have become the master of your own